I've been thinking a little the past day or so about Section 45 in the Doctrine and Covenants. The background on this is we received in March 7th, 1831, and a lot of things have been taking place, as it states here in the Joseph Smith's history, that at this age of the church, many false reports and foolish stories were published and circulated to prevent people from investigating the work or embracing the faith. But to the joy of the saints, I received the following. So last week I talked about Christ having the words of eternal life, that his apostles, his disciples turned to him because they said, "Thou hast the words of eternal life." Other people were walking away. They were leaving the work because they realized that Christ wasn't all about just giving them physical sustenance. He wanted to feed them the bread of life, which comes through the words of life. As it says elsewhere in the scriptures, man cannot live on bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth forth from the mouth of God. So we need to keep that in mind. So here, during amidst all these problems in the church, people are publishing false reports, telling foolish stories and other things. They're using language in ways to lead people away from the truth. Joseph Smith receives the following. He gets these words of eternal life from the mouth of Christ himself. It says here in verse 1, "Hearken, O ye people of my church, to whom the kingdom has been given. Hearken ye, and give ear to him who laid the foundation of the earth, who made the heavens and all the hosts thereof, and by whom all things were made which live and move and have a being." In other words, he says, listen, because I have words that can give you life beyond that which anyone else can. These other stories, these other narratives, they're not life-giving. But my story, the narrative, the story of my kingdom can give you eternal life. It can help you live life as God lives it. And then he continues on. It says, "And again I say, hearken unto my voice, lest death shall overtake you. In an hour when ye think not, the summer shall be past, and the harvest ended, and your souls not saved." And then he continues further. "Listen to him who is the advocate with the Father, who is pleading your cause before him." So this is a very specific way that Christ is using language for us. Now I've considered, we might think about the atonement as a rhetorical act. It's a way of Christ who is his pleading himself. He has used his body, his unique abilities, his unique position to offer himself to plead our cause before God. Remember that Christ is the Word. And this is the way that he pleads our cause before the Father. Not only with the atonement, but the language he uses before the Father. He is backing up his language with the atoning acts that he perpetuated or perpetrated, or that he took on for us, that he suffered for us. And he continues. These are the words that he says to the Father. "Father, behold the sufferings and death of him who did no sin, in whom thou wast well pleased. Behold the blood of thy Son, which was shed, and the blood of him whom thou gavest, that thyself might be glorified. Wherefore, Father, spare these my brethren that believe on my name, that they may come unto me and have everlasting life." We could insert in there, "Spare these my brethren and my sisters." Spare these everyone who listens to me. Spare these for whom I am advocating. Listen to my language. I am pleading their cause. Now, this is something that Christ does very well for us, because he has descended into the depths of our experience. He has felt everything we will ever feel. He is able to plead our cause perfectly. He is able to represent us before the Father with his language and say, this is what he was going, for instance, this is what he or she was going through at this point in his life, his or her life. And I think that you should approach it this way. This is one way that Christ pleads our cause. He is the Word. He uses his language to represent our case perfectly before the Father. I've been thinking about this in terms of representing another person's position, which you'll be doing in your research papers, that we need to be able to represent their position faithfully, responsibly. We need to be able to feel as we can into their point of view, into their perspective, to be able to represent that well before others. And that can really strengthen our argument. Even if we don't agree with the person's position, we should seek to plead their cause. And if we can do this, as Thomas Plummer suggests in his article, diagnosing and treating the Ophelia syndrome, that when we practice this kind of dialectical thinking, when we allow ourselves to experience these things to experience things we don't agree with, to experience things that oppose our ideas from their perspective, then we can more effectively advocate for their cause and we can understand them more deeply. That's what we did with the profile paper. You were to look at and to represent someone whose experience differs deeply from yours, and to represent them well. And we're moving forward with that in the research paper to plead another's cause. And if we do that, if we plead their cause, it can help strengthen our argument, because we can say, while this person believes this, this is what I believe. It can help us to more effectively represent our own cause. Now, this is what Christ does. Again, he's descended into the depths of everyone's experience. He knows how to represent that experience perfectly. And we should seek to do that as well with our own language. Not that we have to agree with everything that others say, but just that we should experience it. We should learn how to represent it well, so that we can strengthen our own arguments, so that we can use language more powerfully and responsibly and influentially. Just something to think about for the week. I challenge you to keep that in mind as you interact with others, and as you interact with others in real life and with their ideas, the things that you read just of them in their writing.